Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Peter Evans. Today I'm excited to introduce to you three new models, the ones that you're seeing on your screen. First up, we have the flock breed model. This is a powerful tool, or rather powerful model, that allows us to efficiently manage different breeds of our poultry flocks. We can easily track essential information such as the breed type, the average mature weight, and even egg production. And with this model, we ensure that each flock is carefully categorized, enabling us to make informed decisions for their well-being and optimal productivity. And next, let's talk about the eggs collection model. It revolutionizes the way we collect and track eggs on our farm. This model enables us to accurately record the number of eggs collected each day, their quality, and maybe any other relevant observations. And by centralizing this data, we can identify patterns, detect issues, and maintain consistent egg production that meets the highest standard and quality. And now let's explore the flock breed information model. It provides us with detailed insights into each breed's specific characteristics and requirements, from chicken types to average weight and maturity age. This model ensures that we have all the necessary information to tailor our care and rearing methods accordingly. And by understanding the unique traits of each breed, we can optimize their growth and maximize their overall performance. And lastly, I've made a significant update to our flock model. I've introduced a new field called is present, allowing us to easily identify the active flocks on our farm, and this enhancement simplifies flock management, helping us to keep track of which flocks are currently in our care, ensuring efficient monitoring and streamlined operations. And so, let's dive in. Over here in the models.py in our poultry app, I'll start with the flock breed model, which is a new model in this tutorial. And this model is fairly simple. It only has a single field, the name field, which is a character field of the choices from the flock breed type choices. So these choices that I've actually added in this tutorial, they're the Corolla, Rainbow Rooster, Kenbro, Indigenous, UTC. So you are free to tweak this depending on which type of choices or rather which type of breeds that you have in your country. And then moving forward to the flock model. In the flock model, I've added a new field, the is present, which is a Boolean field, and by default it's true because it makes sense this way, that whenever you are saving a new flock, it has to be there. So actually it's present, so that's why the default is true. And also this field will not be manually entered, it will be like populated with a signal, and that signal is in the poultry inventory, where I've actually just refactored this signal from our last tutorial, the update flock inventory and flock. So in the previous tutorial, we had left it at this point. And now after updating the flock inventory, we shall also be updating the flock model. So this is how it works. After updating the flock inventory, we ensure that we have the correct figures, or rather the correct values. Now we do the refresh from the database, and then now we compare if the flock inventory, because the flock inventory had the field number of alive birds, if that equates to 0, then what we simply do is that we ensure that the flock is present field is set to false. So that's actually how this field is being populated. And then moving forward to the other new model, the flock breed information model. So this model will be representing the information about our flock breed in the farm, and it has several fields: the breed, the chicken type, the date added, the average mature weight in kgs, the average egg production, maturity age in weeks, where the breed field will be a foreign key to the flock breed, specifying the breed of the flock. And then the chicken type is quite descriptive. The date added is automatic timestamp of when that flock breed information was added in our farm. And then the average mature weight in kgs is quite descriptive. Actually, it's a decimal field because sometimes you can have chicken of maybe 1.75 kilograms, 1.5 kilograms, and so on. And the average egg production is also another positive integer field that will be nullable. So the rationale over here is that the average egg production will be available for, let's say, chicken type of layers and multipurpose, though for broilers it will be not there. So that's actually the reason why this provision of null is equal to true. And then the maturity age in weeks, which is also a positive integer field that will be available for all chicken types, either the broiler, the layer, or even the multipurpose. And then this model has a validator, so this validator will be performing validation on our model fields, where it will be raising an error if the chicken type is either a broiler, then this the average egg production, then that does not make sense because actually a broiler cannot have any egg production. So that's the reason why even it is nullable. And then it will be also raising an error if the average mature weight is less than 1.5 kgs. Nowadays, almost all chicken are maybe at their mature weight, they are maybe 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 kilograms, and so on. Then this validator will be also validating if the maturity age is not within the acceptable range for the chicken type, for broilers, for layers, and also for multipurpose. So let me quickly go through them. Over here, we restrict if the chicken type is either a layer or a broiler, then the average production has to be provided. So that's the evaluation over here, where if the chicken type is not equal to the broiler, then there's no average production. The word not equal to technically means that it is either a layer type or maybe the multipurpose. And then we also evaluate if the chicken type is a broiler, then we have the egg production, where that is what is not none evaluates to, then broilers should not have an egg production if that's actually violated. Over here, we also now verify if the average mature weight is less than 1.5 kilo. So the reason why by the way I'm using this decimal constructor is because the average mature weight in kgs over here is a decimal field, so that's actually making it much more easier to work with and maybe eliminating possibility of any errors. And then we do a validation based on the chicken type and also the maturity age in weeks, where broilers have a maturity age in weeks of 8 to 10. If that's actually violated, then broilers should have a maturity age between 8 to 10 weeks will be raised. Similar to the layers and also the multipurpose, where the multipurpose actually take longer to mature, and that's the reason why they have probably around 5 months to 6 months to mature. And then we override that to actually ensure that all the validations are done. Then moving forward to the last model for the tutorial today, we have the egg collection. And the egg collection model represents the event of egg collection from our flock. This model has 5 fields: the flock, representing the flock from which the eggs are collected from, the date and time. These are automatic timestamp on the date that the egg collection was carried out and also the time. Then there's this collected eggs, quite descriptive, and also the broken eggs. This model has also a single property method, the picking time, which will be returning a string indicating whether the egg collection was done either in the morning or afternoon. So how this happens is that we have the time field over here where we'll be extracting the hour and comparing. If the hour is less than 12, of course that's a morning, and if not, then that's afternoon. So it will be returning the string literals. So then we have this validator method that will be also just performing validation just as the other validator in the flock breed information model. So this will be validating the data before the egg collection, and it will be raising error if the broken egg count is greater than the collected egg count. The collected egg count exceeds the number of the alive birds in our flock for the day. Then also the data entry for the flock exceeds thrice per day. Then also we shall be validating if the flock type is not either a layer or a multipurpose chicken type, the flock is not marked as present, and also if the flock is younger than 14 weeks. So I'll start with this one. I'll explain this one as the last part of this validation checks. So over here, we filter the egg collection objects from our database based on the flock and also the date, then count them. If they're greater than 3, then we throw this error. The data entry for this flock is limited to thrice per day. Please try again on tomorrow, the string to function, and in this format. So the reason why I've decided to format this way is that making these error messages this way actually ensures that they're very informative as we're doing our testing and actually developing the code. And then we move forward to this check also, where we check if the broken eggs is greater than the collected eggs. Does not make any sense. We shall be throwing this error. And then over here, we sum the total collected eggs plus the collected eggs that is actually being sent in the instance of that egg collection if it's greater than live bird count. So the rationale here is that, assuming that this is the third egg collection of that very day, so meaning that we have probably maybe the 2 prior egg collection events that have already occurred for that specific day. So those will be the total collected eggs. Then we now sum them with the collected eggs that's now actually the third one. So it makes sense that the collected eggs for a specific particular day cannot exceed the live bird count, because chicken actually lay a single egg within a period of, let's say, 24 hours. So if that's the case, that's actually violated, then we shall be raising this error. The collected egg count for the day cannot exceed the count of living birds in the flock. This flock has this specific set of the live bird count, and then the collected eggs must be this plus this or lower. That is, it will do the math. Then the total eggs collected today will be this. So this will be an error message that will be quite informative if we encounter such errors. In this check, we ensure that it's only layers or multipurpose that can produce eggs, and we also ensure that the flock has to be older than 14 weeks. Then finally, the last check is done on the is present field of the flock, where if the is present returns false, the validation error will be the egg collection is only allowed for flocks that are marked as present, and this flock was marked as not present on this very date. So I'm pretty sure that now from the explanation that I actually done over here, actually the is present field is being populated based on the number of alive birds, where if the number of alive birds is 0, then it turns into false. So that's it for the today's models, the 3 models. In the serializers over here, things are just the same even from the previous tutorials. There is no any change even in the views. Over here in the view sets, there's nothing new as well. All the crude operations are performed on the model view sets, the 3 new model view sets, the egg collection view set, the flock breed information view set, and also the flock breed view set. So I'll head over to the tests, where I'll start with a single test in the test models. So let me explain a single one. Okay, let me start with this egg collection model test case. So this is a test case for the egg collection model. First of all, in the setup method, we initialize all that stuff that we'll require. In the subsequent methods, over here we are creating the flock, the housing structures, and also the flock source, as you can see over here. So then we start with the very first method, the test clean valid data. Of course, these are valid data because the egg collection requires a flock that is attached to it, then the collected eggs and the broken eggs. So over here we're testing if the egg collection is saved, then there's no any validation error that's actually raised. That's actually what's here in the description. We create a valid egg collection with the collected eggs and the broken eggs count, and then assert that the clean method does not actually raise any validation error. So this clean method, actually I could have just renamed it to what we had over there, which is validator. At first I had named it clean method, so sorry for that confusion. And then in this next method, we test broken eggs greater than the collected eggs, where if the broken eggs count is greater than the collected eggs count, then that should be raising a validation error. So the validation error actually returns a list of exceptions. So we can actually check if this string over here, the broken eggs count, then we pass the broken eggs count cannot be greater than the collected eggs count is equal to the context.exception. So I've actually explained to you that this context here contains the list of exceptions. So this will be one of the exceptions because this is actually an error that's raised, and this is what we had defined in our models. And then moving forward to the test exceed collected eggs limit, the eggs limit will be dependent on the number of live birds in our flock. And so what we actually do here is that we can actually create an eggs collection object with the 10 eggs that's already collected, and then try again collect 21 eggs. So that will be a total of 31 eggs. And remember, in our flock over here, our flock had the 20 chickens. So if we do so, that is supposed to raise an error, and actually that's what we're actually checking over here, where if that's actually raised, then the exception over here has to be the collected egg count for the day cannot exceed the living birds, blah blah blah, etc. In the context exception, as I had explained, the context has the exception list of all these errors that are raised, and I'll actually show you the type of the context and maybe the exception type. So then we move forward to the test exceed data entry limit, where the data entry limit will be limited to thrice per day. So we create the very first egg collection object, then another one, and then another one. So as at this point there are 3, and you also have to remember that all these egg collected has to total to either equal to 20 or less than that. So here you have 6 plus 6 plus 4, that's actually 16. And then this very last one, we are actually trying to save it as we catch the error, and that error will be actually raised. And if it's raised, we also check if this error message is actually within the list of the exceptions. Then we move to the test invalid flock chicken type, where we try saving a egg collection record for the chicken type of broiler. Of course, it has to raise the error, where the error is the egg collection is restricted to layers or multipurpose flock. We selected this. Then moving forward to the invalid flock age, we had actually specified that for a flock to be eligible for egg collection, it has to be 14 weeks or more. So 13 will be actually raising the error. And you also have to remember that for the layers or maybe the multipurpose, let's talk of maybe the layers. Remember that in our previous tutorial, you had already set some validation checks based on the age of the flock. And up here, as I am defining the housing structures, let me show you over here in the setup. Over here in the setup, we have defined the flock with the current housing structure as the self.layers house, as you can see over here. And you have to remember that these houses are also age specific, where let us go down a little bit over here, where for chicken aged, let me just head over to the models.py, then the flock, the housing validator from the previous tutorial. So the chicken type, it's over here from the previous tutorial, where we had specified that for the chicken type that is the layers that are either 8 to 18 weeks, they have to fall within the grower's house. So that's the actual reason for the changing of the current housing structure over here. Because if we don't do so, then we'll be having the errors and all that stuff. So we try that as well. Try calling it, and if we do so, then we shall be having this error of the egg collection is only allowed for flocks of age 14 weeks or older. This flock is currently this. Then we also now try if we can collect eggs for a is present is equal to false flock, that is the flock that is actually not there. We try doing so. So what we actually do is that, remember, the is present field is being populated based on a signal that is fired by the flock inspection records, where if we inspected the flock until the number of alive birds in that flock is actually 0, then that turns to be false. So that's the reason why we are actually having the flock inspection objects created over here. The flock field will be populated with that very specific flock, then the number of dead birds equals to the number of birds that we started with this flock, which was 20. So if we do so, it will now trickle down to 0 birds in that flock inventory, and that now updates the is present field in the flock to be false, as you can see over here. This is just a revision from what I told you just earlier. The flock inventory number of alive birds is equal to 0. This signal is actually listening to the save over flock inspection record. And that's it. So let's head over to test them out. Over here you can see that we've ran 145 tests. So these tests are so many like this because we have some tests for the dairy inventory and the poultry inventory also included here. And so just to check over how informative the error messages were, first of all, I'll go ahead and print for you the exception messages that is actually being raised. So for this, we also execute the python manage.py, run the test, and you can see that the exception message is in a list, and it's actually the egg collection is only allowed for flock marked as present. This flock was marked as not present on Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. That is today that I'm recording this. And also just to actually test another new method over here, just also to confirm to you the error messages are very informative. First of all, we'll try creating an egg collection with the flock that is actually marked as dead, because the flock over here as well in this view was 20 initially, and if we actually do a flock inspection with the number of dead birds, that's actually translating to 0 number of birds, which actually updates the flock is present field to be false. So if we try that as well and run the test, you will see the error that is raised. The egg collection, actually this one is first of all being executed, so I'll bring it back and then comment this line out and then rerun the test. So if I do so, you can see in 2 seconds we have this, as the egg collection is only allowed for the flocks that is marked as present. This flock was marked as not present on Tuesday, June, and all this stuff, that is today. So you can see that all this test works very well, and the error messages are very informative. And that's it. Until next time, bye bye.